So I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but it seems like Arman Tsarukyan has a staph infection. He has a reddish crater-like bump on his inner chest. Kind of ironic how last fight Makachev had staph leading up to the Poirier fight, and now he's kind of in the MMA god's favor with Tsarukyan seemingly battling staph infection. I want to look at some pictures that we have and compare to staph infection, which, traditionally looks very similar to what is on Arman Tsarukyan's chest. This has been a picture floating around the web, but I feel like people were so awestruck by Arman Tsarukyan's physique that they didn't pay close enough attention to the minute details, which seems to me a staph infection. From here, you can see a reddish bump on the inside of his right pec. Now, you might say to yourself, oh, it's probably just a pimple. Maybe it was a bug bite. Maybe it's a healing cut. Or maybe it's staph infection, because we're going to look a bit closer. And I feel like you're going to start to join me on the staph infection side. This compromises his chances substantially against Islam Makhachev. He's taken on the pound for pound best fighter in the world, and he might be fighting staph infection and taking antibiotics in the lead up to the fight. This picture was from like 6-ish days ago. So I'm sure if it is staph, I think it is, he's on antibiotics right now. Look at the inside of the chest. Look at the crater. Look at the reddish bump. It's small, but it really looks a lot like a staph infection. Before you try and sell yourself on the other side that I'm just reaching and trying to get clicks, hold on one second. That's a staph infection. Does that not look incredibly similar to what Arman has on his right pec? We're zoomed in pretty good. That seems to me to be a staph infection. Really similar. I would assume it would be diagnosed by a doctor just doing the eye test alone as a staph infection. It's been pushed under the rug, or it's just been something people haven't noticed at all. I actually got it brought to my attention by one of my mods, MMA Vulture, in chat. Shout out to him for letting me know about it. Pretty crazy, because this could 100% compromise the fight. Look at Islam Makhachev's leg in the lead up to the Dustin Poirier fight. Looks kind of similar, relatively similar. It almost seems like Arman Tsarukyan's is a little bit fresher in this picture than Makhachev's. It seemed like Makhachev's was maybe recovering a bit more so than Tsarukyan's is at this moment. This is 6 days ago, so probably, about 10 days lead up to the fight. Was he on antibiotics the final week in training? How long was he on the antibiotics? I ask myself that question because if you look at Tsarukyan here, this was the week prior. You don't really see any markings on his chest. I can even zoom this in and make it a little bit bigger, and we can try and look. I don't see much. Maybe a little bump starting to develop, but not nearly as red and not nearly as inflamed as the following week. Did he catch on to it right away? Why would it be more inflamed the following week? I'm thinking he didn't realize it here, but then it started to grow, right? It started to probably cause more concern amongst the camp, and I'm sure that one of his coaches saw it too. And I'd assume that they put him on medication for it, because if you don't, staph infection can actually be fatal. Look at Tsarukyan's chest walking into the cage. He normally doesn't have a bump on his chest, so you might be thinking, oh, well, doesn't he always have that? It's a birthmark, right? He's had that since birth. No. Arman Tsarukyan's never had a large bump on his chest. Oh, it's just an ingrown hair. Really? Fighters get staph infections on the reg. And I have a very strong feeling we're looking exactly at staph. To me, it's confirmed staph. Let me know in the comments if you agree. I think it is. I really think it is. Side effects of staph infection, what are they?
Well, if you're taking antibiotics, they can absolutely kill your athletic performance. Now, listed as a less common side effect or even rare, but I don't think it's super rare. We've seen fighters in the past look worse in fights with staph infections. We saw it with Islam Makhachev against Dustin Poirier. I have a hard time thinking to myself, oh, that was a prime Makachev, an optimal Makachev taking on Dustin Poirier and kind of looking fatigued in certain moments, a little more slowed down, just generally a little more low energy. He still was able to win the fight because Islam Makachev is pound for pound number one. But I don't think that was an optimal Makachev. We have side effects from taking the antibiotics that are less common, right? So maybe he won't have an athletic performance detriment, but I think he will. Normally, I've always had the, I guess, thought or the belief that if you're taking an antibiotic, you're gonna feel worse exercising. And it's actually really non optimal to exercise while you are on antibiotics because you don't recover as well. Less common side effects of antibiotics. I mean, potentially you could be nauseous. You could even have been throwing up, which that's not good in fight camp, leading up to not just a random fight, but the biggest fight of his life. Now, fighters aren't going to normally pull out of fights from staph infection, but I think that their chances to win drop considerably. And if you're out there, maybe you're Team Tsarukyan all the way, you might want to check yourself. You should be a little more nervous than before if you're gambling heavy on Tsarukyan, hoping and praying for the big underdog to cash. You might be playing with fire because I already mentioned Tsarukyan in 4 and 5, I think struggles with Islam Makhachev. Going into the later stages, I favor the long reigning champion. You add staph infection to the mix, gives me even more confidence that Islam is going to finish this fight strong. And Tsarukyan's going to start to fall apart late. It's kind of weird, the line of staph infection. Can we think of the staph infection lineage of the UFC lightweight division? We have Benoit Saint-Denis with staph infection in the lead up to the Poirier fight. He fights that fight with staph. And then we have Makhachev getting a staph infection in the fight with Dustin Poirier, leading up to it and having staph infection during the fight. And now Arman Tsarukyan has staph infection in his title challenge against Islam Makhachev. Very strange. The staph infection is like all around the top tier lightweight division. It's right in the title picture. There's like this staph curse going on right now. And the MMA gods are maybe giving Islam Makhachev a slight edge over a hungry and dangerous challenger in a sick rematch, because I don't think he'll fight as optimally as he would without a staph. No matter how great condition you are in, if you are taking antibiotics, there is a serious chance. I think it's more common than a rare side effect. I actually think it's a relatively common side effect that you're more fatigued and more tired while taking antibiotics, which 1000% is going to inhibit athletic performance. But let's also add another factor into the mix. If he's just not feeling as good in general, you're also adding in this weight cut, which naturally is going to drain you out, kill your energy levels, and probably make you, feel crappy. So the weight cut's harder. The weight cut's more detrimental. Rounds 3, 4, and 5 become more and more convincingly Islam Makhachev's as we keep going through this video. That's staph to me. I think it's staph to you too. And he might be going out there performing subpar. The Islam Makhachev stan is probably jumping up and down with joy right now. I think I'm the first person to talk about this staph infection. I'm surprised that it didn't get more traction. I mean, Islam Makhachev's Instagram picture, I mean, the first picture was not a close-up. You can't really see the staph infection nearly as well. But in the third pic that he posted, you 1000% see it. But I feel like everybody was so impressed by his physique, right? The whole talk was the physique. Look how shredded he looks. And it's from far. You can't really see his chest from there. Barely acceptable shape is the joke. Beast, like we grind every day to become better. He's got 291,000 likes on this. Everybody's hyping up how jacked he is. You know what else is weird? I read something before this that the injections of anabolic steroids could potentially put you at higher risk for something like this, like a staph infection or a MRSA case that's more severe that actually follows after you have staph, where it can get into the bone. I thought that was strange too. Now, he has a very, suspiciously jacked physique. You can see some staph infections here. We're just looking at staph in general. It's pretty damn disgusting. Staph infection is nasty stuff. I would, much prefer that there's no staph in this fight, even though the pick is Makhachev. And I guess I'm a part of the Makhachev stance, so I'm kind of excited. But I also feel bad because I want to see Makhachev beat the most optimal version of Arman Tsarukyan, period. Very interesting circumstances. This changes things a bit. I'm curious to see Arman Tsarukyan without a shirt on in the lead up, right? 6 days ago is when he posted with a little bit of a staph infection on his chest. Since that point, I might as well show you the screen again, has yet to post anything without a shirt on. Everything, he's wearing full gear. Even when he's training with Nina, he doesn't have the shirt off one time. Now, it could just be coincidental, or maybe he knows, shit, I got this staph infection. I can't get it seen by the commission. I can't have all the fans freaking out and worrying and saying, oh, shit, they know I got staph. I'm screwed now. Very interesting. Very interesting. Very, very interesting. Things got even more interesting now that we might have a best shaped Tsarukyan ever, but with staph infection on antibiotics, things could definitely fall apart in the later rounds. Let me know what you guys think. Do you believe that Tsarukyan has staph? Do you see what I'm seeing? You got eyes. Open them up. You can't just believe what's going to be pressed first and foremost by, the mainstream guys in the MMA space. We're spotting this out. MMA Vulture came to me. He said, bro, I think that he's got staph infection. He posted it himself on Instagram, and he zooms in close to it. You can see the chest is looking a lot like a staph infection to me. So shout out to Vulture for bringing it to our attention so I could bring it to all of you. Smash the like button if you enjoy the video. Subscribe if you want to keep it locked in with me. I appreciate you all for tuning in, and I hope you guys enjoyed this breaking news reaction with a bit of panic right now. Hopefully things go smooth. Normally fighters are able to fight with a staph infection, but if you're team Tsarukyan, you're extra worried. Now Tsarukyan got to knock Makhachev out, because if they're going tooth and nail to the end, last fight, round 3, Makhachev's wrestling really started working when Tsarukyan fatigued. With a staph infection, 3, 4, and 5, with Makhachev's level in wrestling, I think he's going to have a lot of control time, and I see Makhachev taking it home. I hope you guys enjoyed. Let me know what you thought in the comments. W in the comments too if you just want to boost the algorithm for your boy. I appreciate you guys watching, and I will see you all in the next one. Much love, my people. Peace out.